The university president, Dr. Harrison, cleared his throat, announcing the student speaker. My heart hammered. When he called my name, Alana Vance, 22, a gasp rippled through the grand Aurelius Academy auditorium, giving way to a stunned silence. Not one of anticipation, but of collective disbelief. I stood at the podium, the microphone still warm, as the details of my accomplishments echoed in the cavernous space. My academic honors, the burgeoning six-figure digital marketing agency I'd built from scratch, and the kicker, that I'd entirely self-funded my journey here. Each phrase was a hammer blow to the carefully constructed facade of the Vance family in the front rows. I glanced at Arthur Vance, 50, and Lorraine Vance, 48. Their initial expressions of beaming, almost proprietorial pride, the kind reserved exclusively for Kira, had utterly vanished, replaced by a ghastly pallor. Arthur's jaw, usually set in a stern, authoritative line, now hung slack, his eyes wide and vacant. Lorraine, ever the picture of refined composure, had her hand pressed against her chest, as if physically warding off a blow, her perfectly coiffed blonde hair suddenly seeming disheveled around a face that had drained of all color. The veneer of elegance she usually projected had cracked, revealing a raw, unvarnished mortification. Beside them, my grandmother, Beatrice Albright, 75, caught my eye from the front row, a faint, knowing smile playing on her lips, her warm, steady gaze a quiet beacon in the storm brewing on my parents. Her presence alone was my true validation. A ripple of murmur started to spread through the audience, a collective shift as people began to connect the dots. Everyone knew the Vance family, their philanthropy, their social standing, their very public support of Kira's journey through Aurelius Academy. To hear that their other daughter, the one rarely spoken of, had not only excelled but had done so completely independently was a revelation that seemed to rewrite the script of their carefully curated public image. I could feel eyes on my parents, whispered conversations starting to bubble up around them. It was a silent judgment, far more potent than any spoken accusation. My heart, which had been a frantic drumbeat moments before, now settled into a steady, powerful rhythm. This wasn't triumph in the way I'd once envisioned it, a grand, vengeful roar. It was quieter, deeper. It was the calm after a long, arduous storm, the peace of a journey completed. I wasn't reveling in their discomfort. I was simply existing in my truth, finally unfettered by their expectations or their dismissals. The weight I'd carried for years, the invisible burden of being the overlooked one, the one who didn't deserve it, lifted from my shoulders like a discarded cloak. I took a deep breath, the scent of polished wood and old books filling my lungs, a scent that now represented years of tireless work, late nights, and countless sacrifices. I approached the microphone. My voice, when it came, was clear and steady, devoid of any tremor. "Good morning, esteemed faculty, proud parents, and fellow graduates," I began, my gaze sweeping across the faces in the audience. I deliberately avoided my parents, focusing instead on Kira, whose face was alight with pure, unadulterated pride, a stark contrast to the grim masks worn by Arthur and Lorraine. She gave me a small, almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. My grandmother offered a similar gesture, her eyes twinkling. These were my people. These were the ones who truly mattered. 4 years ago, as I stood on the precipice of my college journey, I encountered a phrase that profoundly shaped my path. "You didn't deserve it." It was a dismissal, a judgment, a statement intended to limit my potential and define my worth. A fresh wave of hushed whispers swept through the auditorium. This wasn't a typical graduation speech. This was personal. This was raw. I could feel Arthur shift uncomfortably in his seat, Lorraine's grip on her handbag tightening until her knuckles were white. The air around them crackled with their discomfort, a palpable aura of shame that spread outwards, making even their extended family members seated nearby avert their gazes. Aunt Carol, usually so effusive, suddenly found a fascination with the program notes in her lap. Uncle Richard, typically boisterous, cleared his throat awkwardly, trying to shrink into his seat. But sometimes, I continued, my voice gaining strength, the most profound challenges are merely opportunities in disguise. That phrase, instead of diminishing me, ignited a fire. It became a silent vow. Not only would I achieve my goals, but I would do so on my own terms, defining my own worth, building my own foundation, brick by painstaking brick. I paused, allowing the weight of those words to settle. I saw a few heads in the audience nod in understanding, perhaps recalling their own struggles, their own moments of doubt or dismissal. This wasn't just my story, it was a universal narrative of resilience. My journey here to Aurelius Academy was not paved with inherited privilege or unquestioning support. It was forged in the quiet hours of the night, balancing textbooks with shifts at the local coffee shop, tutoring sessions, and late-night coding for clients. It was built on the belief that if the path isn't given to you, you forge your own. And in forging that path, I discovered something invaluable: the incredible power of self-reliance, the thrill of innovation, and the profound satisfaction of creating something from nothing. I spoke of the late nights in my cramped dorm room, the aroma of stale coffee and instant noodles a constant companion as I pored over business plans, developed marketing strategies, and coded websites. I spoke of the exhilaration of landing my first client, a small local bakery, and the quiet pride when their sales numbers soared. I didn't explicitly mention Alana's workspace, but the imagery evoked the cluttered, vibrant space that had been my sanctuary and battleground. My laptop and business tools, worn from countless hours of use, had been more than just instruments. They were extensions of my will, tangible symbols of my independent spirit and entrepreneurial drive. Each successful campaign, each satisfied client, was a silent retort to the dismissive words that had once haunted me. My burgeoning digital marketing agency, now a thriving six-figure enterprise, wasn't just a business. It was a testament to every doubt I had overcome, every late night I had pushed through. It was the living embodiment of my vow. And along this journey, I continued, my gaze finally settling on Kira, a soft smile touching my lips, I learned that true support isn't always about financial assistance. Sometimes it's a listening ear, an unwavering belief, a quiet presence that reminds you you're not alone. I was fortunate enough to find that support in unexpected places, from those who saw my potential even when others did not. My eyes flickered to Beatrice Albright, who returned my gaze with such warmth and pride that my chest ached with gratitude. She was the anchor that had kept me steady through years of emotional neglect. Her unwavering belief had been the sanctuary I desperately needed. It was through this challenging, yet ultimately liberating experience that I realized success isn't solely defined by external validation or by the approval of others. It is defined by the integrity of your effort, the resilience of your spirit, and the positive impact you choose to make on the world around you. Here was the crucial part, the real culmination of my journey beyond mere personal vindication. That is why, with immense pride and gratitude, I am announcing today the establishment of the Aurelius Academy Scholarship Fund in my name. This scholarship is dedicated to students who, like me, may face financial hurdles or feel overlooked, but possess the drive, the talent, and the unwavering determination to forge their own path. It is my hope that this fund will ensure that no deserving student ever hears the words, "You didn't deserve it," simply because of their financial circumstances. The murmurs swelled again, but this time they were different. They were whispers of admiration, of respect. A few people began to clap, tentatively at first, then more boldly, until a ripple of applause spread through the auditorium, growing into a thunderous standing ovation. Students, faculty, even members of the extended Vance family who weren't directly implicated in my parents' favoritism rose to their feet. This wasn't for academic accolades alone. It was for the spirit of generosity, for the defiant reclamation of worth, for the turning of a personal wound into a beacon of hope for others. I watched Arthur and Lorraine still slumped in their seats as the applause washed over them. They were trapped, forced to witness the very public affirmation of the daughter they had dismissed, the daughter who had not only succeeded beyond their wildest imaginations, but was now actively undoing the very premise of their past actions. Their faces were a mask of utter humiliation, their public image shattered in the most spectacular and irreversible way possible. As the applause finally subsided and Dr. Harrison returned to the podium to offer a few concluding remarks, I stepped down, feeling lighter than I had in years. Kira met me at the base of the stage, throwing her arms around me in a fierce hug. "Alana," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion, "I'm so incredibly proud of you. I always knew you'd do something amazing, but this is incredible." Her grip was tight, genuine, a physical manifestation of the profound transformation our relationship had undergone. No longer the favored, somewhat naive younger sister, she had truly become my confidant, my ally, my genuine sister. She had seen my relentless effort, the stark contrast in our college experiences, and it had opened her eyes. The strain that had once existed between us had dissolved, replaced by a bond forged in understanding and mutual respect. The ceremony continued in a blur of handshakes, photo opportunities, and proud parents. But for Arthur and Lorraine, the joy of the day was undeniably tainted. I saw them from a distance, attempting to force smiles, but their eyes constantly darted towards me, a mixture of anger, regret, and utter bewilderment warring within them. They were like statues, frozen in their shame. After the official proceedings concluded, the Grand Aurelius Academy auditorium emptied into the sprawling, historic campus grounds. Graduates spilled out, hugging families, snapping photos under the ancient oak trees. I found Beatrice Albright waiting for me near the main gates, her smile radiant. She pulled me into a gentle embrace, her frail arms surprisingly strong. "My dear Alana," she murmured, her voice raspy with emotion, "you have made me so incredibly proud. You built your own path, darling. You showed them all what true strength looks like." Her eyes, so often filled with quiet observation, now shone with tears of joy. "You always had it in you, even when they couldn't see it." Just then, a distinguished-looking man, tall and impeccably dressed, approached us. "Miss Vance?" he asked, a polite smile on his face. "I'm Thomas Sterling from Alexander Global Consulting. I was deeply impressed by your speech, and even more so by the details Dr. Harrison shared about your academic achievements and, of course, your entrepreneurial success. We'd love to formally extend our offer for the senior marketing strategist position. Your agency's growth and your unique approach to self-funding truly set you apart. We believe you have the vision and drive that our firm seeks." My heart gave a little leap. The offer from Alexander Global Consulting was real. It wasn't just a dream I'd chased in the quiet of my Alana's workspace, the cluttered apartment where I'd poured my soul into my business. It was validation from the outside world, a tangible recognition of my capabilities beyond the walls of Aurelius Academy and the confines of my family's expectations. "Mr. Sterling, thank you. I'm truly honored," I replied, shaking his hand firmly. "I'd be delighted to discuss it further." As he walked away, I looked at Beatrice, then at Kira, who had joined us, her arm linked through mine. "See," Kira said, her voice filled with genuine delight, "I told you everything would work out." Suddenly, Arthur and Lorraine Vance appeared, their faces still edged with discomfort, though they attempted to plaster on strained smiles. "Alana," Arthur began, his voice surprisingly subdued. "That was quite the speech. Very insightful." Lorraine added, her voice a little too high, "Yes, darling, very impressive. We had no idea you'd been working on so much. We're very proud." The words felt hollow, like an echo of a sentiment they hadn't truly felt until this very public unveiling. They had always projected an image of success at their well-maintained, affluent suburban residence, the Vance family home, but internally, the divisions had run deep. I looked at them, not with anger, but with a profound sense of detachment. The pain they had inflicted, the "she deserved it, but you didn't" wound, still existed, a faint scar on my soul. As he walked away, I looked at Beatrice, then at Kira, who had joined us, her arm linked through mine. "See," Kira said, her voice filled with genuine delight, "I told you everything would work out." Suddenly, Arthur and Lorraine Vance appeared, their faces still etched with discomfort, though they attempted to plaster on strained smiles. "Alana," Arthur began, his voice surprisingly subdued. "That was quite the speech." Lorraine added, her voice a little too high. "Yes, darling, very impressive. We had no idea you'd been working on so much. We're very proud." The words felt hollow, like an echo of a sentiment they hadn't truly felt until this very public unveiling. They had always projected an image of success at their well-maintained, affluent suburban residence, the Vance family home. But internally, the divisions had run deep. I looked at them, not with anger, but with a profound sense of detachment. The pain they had inflicted, the "she deserved it, but you didn't" wound, still existed, a faint scar on my soul. But it no longer festered. It no longer defined me. Their approval, once so desperately craved, now held no power over me. "Thank you, Mother, Father," I said, my voice calm and even. It was a challenging journey, but ultimately a deeply rewarding one. I wouldn't change a thing. I didn't elaborate, didn't offer them an olive branch or an easy way out of their discomfort. This wasn't about revenge in the petty sense. It was about reclaiming my worth, defining success on my own terms, and healing my own past by empowering the future. Arthur's gaze, which had been fixed on some indeterminate point over my shoulder, finally flickered to meet my eyes, and for a fleeting second, I saw it. Not just the public humiliation, but a flicker of something akin to genuine regret, perhaps even a nascent understanding of the depth of their mistake. Lorraine, usually so poised and impenetrable, wrung her hands, her carefully manicured nails digging into her palms. The silence stretched, thick with unspoken words and unresolved history. I didn't break it. I didn't need to. Their discomfort was their own to bear. We should probably let you celebrate," Lorraine finally stammered, her voice still thin, her eyes darting away. "It's been a long day." Arthur nodded stiffly, a man defeated not by an opponent, but by his own past actions laid bare. They turned, not with their usual grand exit, but with a slight, almost hesitant shuffle, blending into the thinning crowd, their figures shrinking with every step, no longer commanding attention, but desperately trying to escape it. I watched them go, and felt nothing but a quiet closure. The emotional cord was truly severed. Beatrice reached out and gently stroked my cheek. "You handled that beautifully, darling," she said, her voice soft but firm, "with grace and strength, just like I always knew you would." Her presence was a balm, a reminder of the unwavering love that had sustained me. She had been my steadfast advocate, the only one who had truly seen my potential when everyone else, especially my parents, had dismissed it. I remembered countless weekends spent at her cozy house, not the grand, impersonal Vance family home, but a place filled with warmth, the scent of baking bread, and the quiet wisdom of a woman who truly listened. She'd encouraged my entrepreneurial spirit, even when it was just a hazy idea, a desperate attempt to find a foothold in the world. "If you believe in yourself, Alana," she told me, her eyes sparkling, "the world will eventually follow." She had been right. The Aurelius Academy Scholarship Fund, established in my name, wasn't just a gesture of charity. It was a testament to the fact that I had built my own path, creating opportunities not just for myself, but for others who might otherwise face the same financial hurdles I had overcome. I had poured a significant portion of my agency's profits into it, ensuring it would be substantial enough to make a real difference. The fund was designed to support students who demonstrated academic promise and entrepreneurial spirit, regardless of their family's financial standing. It was a tangible way to counteract the very dismissal that had fueled me, to transform a personal wound into a beacon of hope for others. It was my legacy, far more meaningful than any inherited wealth or societal status. I envisioned students, years from now, benefiting from this fund, pursuing their dreams without the crushing weight of financial anxiety, knowing that someone believed in them, even if their own families didn't. It was a quiet revolution, born from personal adversity. The idea for the scholarship had come to me late one night, a few months ago, while I was reviewing the financials for my digital marketing agency. The numbers were good, better than good. They were beyond anything I had dared to dream of when I was working those 3 minimum wage jobs just to cover tuition and rent for my tiny off-campus apartment. I remembered the biting cold of winter nights, walking home from my shift at the coffee shop, my fingers numb, my mind buzzing with half-formed ideas for client campaigns, knowing I still had hours of homework ahead. My laptop, a worn-out model held together with determination and a prayer, was my constant companion. It was on that laptop, in my humble Alana's workspace, that I had built something real, something substantial. And as the revenue grew, I realized I had an opportunity not just to accumulate wealth, but to rewrite the narrative for someone else. The name, the Alana Vance Scholarship for Emerging Entrepreneurs, had been Dr. Harrison's idea, a surprise to me. When she'd approached me about establishing a fund, I'd simply wanted it to be anonymous, or perhaps just named after Aurelius Academy. But she had insisted. "Your story, Alana, is an inspiration," she'd said, her eyes kind. "It deserves to be told, to show students what's possible, even without traditional support. This isn't just about money, it's about hope." Her words resonated deeply. It was a form of public healing, a way to acknowledge the struggle and then turn it into a source of strength for others. It was a way to say, "I made it, and so can you, even if the odds are stacked against you." My conversation with Thomas Sterling from Alexander Global Consulting still hummed in my mind, a vibrant counterpoint to the quiet resolution with my parents. That offer wasn't just a career step, it was a powerful affirmation. It meant my hustle, my sleepless nights, my relentless pursuit of knowledge in my business courses, my courage to cold call, my resilience in the face of rejection, all of it had been seen, valued, and recognized by the very pinnacle of the professional world. It was a stark contrast to the dismissive words of my parents, who had believed I didn't deserve an education they could easily afford. Alexander Global Consulting, a name synonymous with elite strategy and global influence, saw the vision and leadership qualities that my own family had been blind to. This wasn't just about financial success. It was about being acknowledged for who I truly was, a competent, driven, and innovative professional, not just an overlooked daughter. Kira and I walked side by side, our graduation caps perched a little awkwardly on our heads, our gowns rustling in the gentle breeze. The campus, once a place that symbolized my uphill battle, now felt like a launching pad. "You know," Kira mused, her voice thoughtful, "I used to resent you, a little. Not in a mean way, just I didn't understand why you were always so intense, why you couldn't just relax like I did. I thought it was just your personality." She paused, a shadow of regret crossing her face. "But then, when I struggled with that economics class, and you were tutoring me after working your shift, and I saw how easily Mom and Dad dismissed my frustration, and then how you just kept going no matter what, that's when it clicked. They didn't see you. Not really." She shook her head. "And I was part of that, without even realizing it. I'm so sorry, Alana." I squeezed her hand. "It's okay, Kira. We were both caught in their expectations. What matters is that we found our way back to each other." Our sisterhood felt stronger than ever, forged in the crucible of shared truth and mutual respect. We had moved beyond the superficial pleasantries, the polite distance that favoritism had imposed. We had truly seen each other, vulnerabilities and strengths alike. Our bond was real, a deep well of support that I knew would last a lifetime. We stopped near a sprawling oak tree, its ancient branches providing a comforting shade. Beatrice, though frail, stood tall beside us, her eyes reflecting the setting sun, a quiet dignity radiating from her. "The past is a lesson, not a life sentence, Alana," she said, her voice a soft whisper that somehow carried immense weight. "You've taken your lessons and built a future, not just for yourself, but for others. That's true legacy. Her words were the final piece of the puzzle, cementing the profound peace that had settled over me. The weight of years of neglect, of striving for an approval that would never truly come, had finally dissipated. I was free. Free from the invisible chains of expectation, free from the need to prove myself to those who refused to see. I no longer yearned for a place at their table, a seat at the Vance family home where I was always just a guest, never truly belonging. My home was within myself, in the strength I had cultivated, and in the connections I had forged with those who truly saw and valued me. The path ahead was wide open, filled with possibilities I had created for myself. I pictured myself in the bustling offices of Alexander Global Consulting, my laptop, once a tool for survival, now a gateway to global strategy. I envisioned the future students, bright-eyed and determined, receiving their Alana Vance scholarship, their faces alight with the hope I had once struggled to find. This wasn't just about my story. It was about a movement, a quiet but powerful statement that self-worth is not granted but earned, and that true success is measured not by external validation, but by the impact you make on your own life and the lives of others. As the graduation crowds began to thin and the shadows lengthened across the campus green, a sense of profound peace settled over me. It wasn't the fleeting exhilaration of triumph, but a deep, abiding contentment. I felt light, unburdened. The old house, the Vance family home, with its perfectly manicured lawn and its hollow epos, faded into the background of my memory. I had rewritten my own narrative, not just for myself, but for every other overlooked student who deserved a chance to shine. And that, I realized, was the truest form of success. My future was mine to command, built on a foundation of grit, resilience, and a newfound sense of purpose that transcended any past hurt. If you enjoyed Alana's journey of resilience and triumph, consider giving a like and subscribing to follow more stories of empowerment and self-discovery.